Right, in this video, I want to take you through an exercise that you can do on a dominant 7th chord, finding voicings with 11 different notes at the top of the chord. Let's look at a C7 chord. C, the root, E the 3rd, G the 5th, B flat, the 7th, and look at all the possible notes that we can put at the top of the chord. Starting with the root, yes, that works. Flat 9th, yes. 9th, yes. Sharp 9th, yes. 3rd, yes. This one, yes, but with a caveat. It clashes with the 3rd, so miss the 3rd out, and I would put a 9th in there, and that makes it either a C sus4 or a C11 chord. We'll carry on now. The next note up is the F sharp, which is the sharp 11th or flattened 5th, yes. 5th, yes. Flattened 13th, yes. 13th, yes. 7th, yes. The one note that you cannot use is the major 7th. It clashes very badly with the 7th in C7. So out of the 12 notes on the piano, there's only one that won't go at the top of a C7 chord. So I'm going to talk through some voicings now. Just before I do, I'll just mention that a lot of these will be using what we call upper structure triads. Now, I have mentioned them in the context as a passing chord in another video. I'll put a link to that below, but I'll just briefly go through what the concept is. If we play a shell of a C7 chord, that's root, 3rd and 7th in the left hand, there are various major triads and also a couple of minor triads that you can play above that, which will make this chord sound really colourful. Let's take that one as an example. So I'm playing a D major triad over a C7 shell. It works if you want to analyse it, because D is the 9th of the chord, that is the sharp 11th or flattened 5th, and that is the 13th. Remember that you can invert these triads. So that means there are 3 possible voicings there. The main major upper structure triads that we use on dominant 7th chords are the one I've just shown you, which is on the 9th, D being the 9th of C7. This one, which is on the flattened 5th, G flat being the flattened 5th. This one on the flattened 13th, and this one on the 13th. Now, we can include this one, I suppose, if we call that a B flat, so that's on the 7th. That's the one that would make it a C11 or C sus4, as long as you remember to leave the 3rd out. You could play a minor one on the flattened 9th. That works really nicely. And you could include a minor triad on the 7th as well, on the making the 7th, the C sus4 or 11 chord, but with a flat 9th in the middle. Okay, not all the voicings will be upper structures. There are 1 or 2 others, but I just thought I'd mention that because I'm using those a lot in this exercise. So let's start the exercise. The left hand, remember, plays the shell. We're going to start with the root note, C, up at the top there as the melody note, and see what we can put underneath it. So an upper structure one that I really like is this one. That's the upper structure major triad on the flattened 13th, A flat. If you look at the notes there, that's the sharp 9th, flattened 13th, and that's the root. A much more sort of ordinary voicing, prettier if you like, would be that one, with just the 13th in the middle. When you play that voicing, you very often follow it with a bit of inner movement. The 13th dropping to the flattened 13th to the 5th. Okay, let's go on to the flattened 9th as the melody note, and we can use the minor upper structure chord built on the flattened 9th. D flat's a flattened 9th. And we can also use another upper structure one, a major one this time, made on the 13th, A. So that's an A major triad. Let's go on to the 9th as the top note. An obvious choice there would be the upper structure major triad on the 9th. A more ordinary voicing would be like that. That is quite nice though, because you've got a perfect fourth and another perfect fourth at the top of the chord, and it lends itself to doing little arpeggio. We just play the 3 notes and then jump an octave. Often as well you would do that bit of inner movement in that. Okay, we'll move on to the sharpened 9th as the melody note, and here what works really well is the upper structure triad on the flattened 13th. You can also play this voicing. That's just the 3rd, the 7th and the sharpened 9th. Onto the 3rd of the chord at the top as the melody note. So now we can use an upper structure major triad on the 13th, A major, double the E, probably miss the E out of the left hand there, we'd have too many thirds otherwise. Another more ordinary voicing would be, say, just simply that, or you could have the augmented 5th in there, going on to the 13th. Then we're on to the C sus4 or C11 chord. And remember that we can also flatten that note. I really like that chord actually. The next melody note is the flattened 5th, and you could have an upper structure major triad on the flattened 5th, G flat major. Notice I'm doubling the G flat there, so we don't have too big a gap in the middle of the chord. You could also have a major upper structure triad on the 9th, the D major triad. Now we're going on to the 5th in the melody, but we are getting a bit high there, so I'm going to bring it back down here, and let's try this voicing. It's a very simple one. If you look at the top 4 notes there, we've got a diminished 7th chord. That works really well. What works really well too is if you put the suspended 4th in, resolving to the 3rd, and I think I did this in the introduction, you can also go up at the top so that you end up with the upper structure minor triad on the flattened 9. A very ordinary voicing just there would be just with the 9th and the 5th. You notice that all of these chords have got to have at least one upper extension or altered notes. A dominant 7th on its own in jazz doesn't really sound at the same level of harmony as, say, a minor 7th or a half diminished 7th chord. So we have to add some notes to add colour to it. Okay, so we're now on to the A flat as the melody note, which is the flattened 13th, and we can use the minor upper structure 2 chord there. We could do an ordinary kind of voicing like that, which is just treating that as a sharpened 5th, augmented 5th, which feels like it wants to go to the 13th, which now takes us to the 13th as the melody note, and the obvious 2 triads we could use there are upper structure major chord on the 9th, D, or on the 13th, A. So either that or that. You could just do an ordinary voicing like that, which has got the 9th and the 13th there. And you could do a little bit of movement there as well. So we're on to the last note now, the 7th, and an obvious upper structure one there is the major upper structure triad, excuse me, on the flattened 5th, G flat, That's a really nice one, I like that. An ordinary kind of voicing would probably be something like that, with just the ninth in. Okay, that's not the end of it. Experiment, find your own voicings. There's all kinds of different things you can do. It's a really good exercise. And then when you're reading a lead sheet and you come across a melody note with a dominant seventh, you'll find that you've got various options at your fingertips straight away without having to think about it. You'll also probably find that certain of the voicings are ones that you really like. Some of them you probably won't like, and you start using the ones that you like. Try them over different dominant sevenths, one at a time though. Don't try and go through all 12 at one go. Hope you found that useful. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Thank you.